Shinto versus Buddhism, Understanding Japan's Invisible Faith. Intro, the mystery of Japan's two religions. Have you ever wondered why Japan seems so deeply spiritual, yet most Japanese people call themselves non-religious? For many outsiders, Japanese religion looks like a blur of temples, shrines, monks, and rituals. In fact, most foreign visitors cannot clearly tell the difference between a Buddhist temple and a Shinto shrine. To make things more confusing, Japanese people themselves will casually attend a Shinto wedding at a shrine and later hold a Buddhist funeral at a temple, without seeing any contradiction at all. This is because Japan is home to two very different traditions: Buddhism, which arrived from India through China and Korea, and Shinto, the indigenous belief system of Japan. To truly understand Japanese culture, you need to understand not just Buddhism, but also Shinto, the invisible faith that shapes Japanese daily life, even when people don't notice it themselves. In this video, we will explore the differences between Shinto and Buddhism, explain how they coexist, and reveal why Shinto is unlike any religion you may know. Part 1. Temples and Shrines, How to Tell Them Apart. For many travelers, the first confusion comes at the entrance. You may see a tall wooden gate painted bright red. This is a torii, the iconic marker of a Shinto shrine. Step inside, and you will often find a sacred rope, called shimenawa, wrapped around a tree or stone. Instead of statues, nature itself becomes the focus of worship. At a shrine, you purify your hands and mouth at a water basin, ring a bell, clap your hands twice, and bow to pray. These are all distinctly Shinto practices. By contrast, a Buddhist temple feels very different. Here, you are welcomed by statues of Buddha or Bodhisattvas, incense burning in the air, and the sound of monks chanting sutras. You may see visitors offering incense sticks, bowing deeply before large golden statues, or sitting quietly in meditation. Temples are also strongly tied to funerals and ancestor worship, which are central to Japanese Buddhism. So, if you see a torii gate and offerings to nature, you are in a Shinto shrine. If you see Buddha statues, incense, and monks, you are in a Buddhist temple. Understanding this distinction is the first step to understanding Japanese spirituality. Part 2. What is Buddhism? Buddhism is widely known across the world. Originating in India around the 5th century BCE, it spread through Asia, adapting to local cultures along the way. In China, it mixed with Taoist and Confucian traditions. In Japan, it arrived in the 6th century and became one of the central pillars of society. At its core, Buddhism teaches that life is filled with suffering, caused by desire and attachment. Through ethical living, meditation, and wisdom, one can achieve enlightenment, freedom from the endless cycle of birth and rebirth, known as samsara. In Japan, Buddhism took on unique forms. Zen Buddhism, with its focus on meditation and simplicity, became especially famous worldwide. Samurai practiced Zen to cultivate discipline and clarity. Common people turned to Pure Land Buddhism for hope of salvation through faith in the Amida Buddha. Even today, Buddhism in Japan is strongly associated with funerals, memorial services, and the honoring of ancestors. Buddhism in Japan is therefore well recognized abroad. Temples, statues, monks, meditation, all are familiar images. But what about Shinto? Part 3. What is Shinto? If Buddhism in Japan is a religion of statues, sutras, and temples, then Shinto is almost the opposite. Shinto has no founder, no holy scripture, and no central dogma. There is no Japanese equivalent of the Bible, the Quran, or even the teachings of Buddha. Instead, Shinto is an ancient way of relating to the world, passed down through rituals and customs rather than doctrines. At the heart of Shinto is the idea of yaoyorozu no kami, literally 8 million gods. This doesn't mean there are exactly 8 million deities, but rather that the divine is limitless. Mountains, rivers, rocks, trees, even household objects can all be considered sacred. Unlike religions that place divinity in a distant heaven, Shinto finds the sacred everywhere in the natural world. That is why you may see ropes tied around massive stones, or ancient trees protected as holy beings. For Shinto, the divine is not represented by an image, it simply resides in nature itself. This absence of idols or statues sets Shinto apart from most major world religions. Part 4. Shinto in Daily Life. What makes Shinto especially fascinating is how it blends seamlessly into everyday Japanese life, often without people even realizing it. Seasonal visits. At New Year's, millions of Japanese visit shrines for Hatsumode, the first prayer of the year. Families bring their children for Shichi-go-san, a coming-of-age ceremony. People buy charms for safe travel, academic success, or health. Specialized shrines. Need help with exams? Visit Tenjin shrines dedicated to the god of learning. Starting a new business? Pray at ebisu or daikokuten shrines for prosperity. Seeking romance? Many shrines specialize in love and even in breaking off toxic relationships. This functional diversity of shrines is almost like a spiritual marketplace, with each deity offering a different kind of blessing. Food and gratitude. Even simple phrases like itadakimasu, said before eating, and gachizu-sama, after finishing a meal, are rooted in Shinto values. They express thanks not just to the cook, but to the animals, plants, and natural forces that gave their lives as food. In this sense, eating itself becomes a sacred act of acknowledging life's interconnectedness. Purity and renewal. Shinto places great importance on Kegare, impurity or defilement. Unlike the concept of sin, Kegare is not moral guilt but a kind of spiritual pollution that can be cleansed. Ritual purification with water, salt, or fire restores balance. This focus on renewal explains why purification rituals appear so often in Japanese festivals and daily customs. The power of words. Another unique belief is Kotodama, the spirit of words. Shinto holds that spoken words carry spiritual power to shape reality. This idea still echoes in Japanese culture today, where speech is treated carefully and blessings are often performed verbally. Through these customs, Shinto has become less of a formal religion and more of an invisible framework for daily life. Part 5. Shinto as the way. The very word Shinto means the way of the gods. Unlike religions based on doctrine, Shinto is better understood as a path, a way of living in harmony with nature and community. This idea of a way runs deep in Japanese culture. Consider judo, the way of flexibility, kendo, the way of the sword, bushido, the way of the warrior, chado, the way of tea, or kado, the way of flowers. All of these disciplines are not just skills, but lifelong practices of discipline and respect. Shinto operates in the same spirit, not a creed to memorize, but a way to embody values. That is why many Japanese people do not think of themselves as religious, yet unconsciously follow Shinto customs every day. Shinto is less about belief and more about practice, living with gratitude, purity, and reverence for the unseen. Part 6. Shinto versus world religions. To understand how unique Shinto is, it helps to compare it with other major religions. Christianity revolves around one God, revealed through the Bible. Faith is centered on salvation, sin, and redemption. The cross, the church, and the figure of Jesus are powerful symbols. Islam follows the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, recorded in the Quran. The 5 pillars of Islam provide a clear framework of duties, daily prayers, fasting, almsgiving, pilgrimage, and declaration of faith. Buddhism, as we saw earlier, focuses on the teachings of the Buddha. It seeks liberation from suffering through discipline, meditation, and compassion. Hinduism offers a vast pantheon of deities and philosophical schools, yet still relies on scriptures like the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita. Now compare these with Shinto. No single founder. No sacred scripture. No fixed dogma. No concept of sin and salvation. No idol representing the divine. Instead, Shinto emphasizes purity, gratitude, and harmony with nature. Rather than promising an afterlife, it guides people in how to live respectfully in this world. That is why many scholars hesitate to call Shinto a religion at all. It functions more like a worldview or philosophy, shaping behavior without demanding belief. Climax, the invisible faith. This brings us back to the paradox. Why do so many Japanese call themselves non-religious, while still practicing Shinto rituals? The answer is that Shinto is like air. It is everywhere, taken for granted, and invisible until you look closely. People may not consciously believe, but they still bow before a shrine, purify themselves with water, or keep an amulet for safety. Even in times of crisis, Shinto values resurface. After natural disasters, rituals of purification and festivals of renewal bring communities together. During life's transitions, birth, marriage, adulthood, and death, Shinto and Buddhism intertwine to mark each passage. This flexibility is not seen as contradiction, but as balance. Shinto's strength lies in this quiet presence. It does not demand loyalty, yet it shapes the rhythm of life. It does not offer salvation from sin, yet it provides comfort through connection to nature and community. It is a religion that thrives precisely because it does not insist on being one. Conclusion: a path beyond belief. So what is Shinto? It is not a creed you join, but a way you live. It is not about worshipping distant gods, but about honoring the sacred in your daily surroundings. It is not about sin and salvation, but about cleansing, gratitude, and respect. For outsiders, this can feel puzzling. How can a religion exist without doctrine, scripture, or even conscious belief? Yet that is the secret of Shinto's endurance. It adapts, flows, and embeds itself into ordinary life. When Japanese people say they are non-religious, they may be right in one sense, but in another, they are unconsciously living by Shinto values every day. From the words they speak to the food they eat, from the festivals they enjoy to the way they bow, the invisible hand of Shinto is always present. In the end, Shinto reminds us that spirituality does not always require belief. Sometimes, it simply requires presence. And whether you see it as religion, philosophy, or culture, Shinto offers a timeless lesson, that the sacred is not somewhere far away, but right here, in the world around us.